Well, this is very sad. There is almost nobody here. And I will bring the meeting to order. Hopefully we have a few stragglers because this is going to be a very difficult meeting today if we don't. But I will start with the pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And I see we have a guest, John O'Hare. You want to tell us who you are?
Good morning. My name is John O'Hare. I talked to Eric Schneider yesterday. I'm the Division A governor of Toastmasters District 65. So just popping in to see one of the better clubs in the division and see how we operate. Small group this morning, but I know it's a dynamic club. Thank you.
Yeah, really, of all meetings to attend.
That's okay. That's okay.
They're dribbling in here. Okay, we got the show up at 7:30. Yeah. Let's see here. I would say let's do some housekeeping. I do need a quiz master and an evaluator today. And there's Marty finally. You didn't get to open the meeting, Marty, but you'll get to close it. Okay. Marcus said he will be an evaluator. He will be evaluating Carol Ann. So we still need a quiz master. And everybody here has a job. How about online? Let's see. We got Tracy has showed up. Oh, Dave Licata showed up. Dave Licata does not have a job. Dave, you are going to be quiz master. Yes. Okay, Dave Licata is going to evaluate. Carol Ann. So we're still short a quiz master.
I'll be happy to play, but I don't know the quizmaster role.
Quizmaster listens throughout the meeting, and at the end of the meeting, you will try and find 3 to 5 to 10 or whatever facts that we want to question the members on to see if they were paying attention during the meeting today.
Oh, I can do that.
Okay, we have a quiz master. Our guest, John O'Hare, is going to be quiz master. Yay, we are filled in if everybody shows up. So Mary, are you settled in? Yes, you are. Mary is going to be our inspiration and quote master. So we'll let her go at it today.
With a quote, I have a good inspiration I just found. Be yourself. Everyone is already taken care of. Should I do quote master? Okay. The smallest pen line is a masterpiece. Leonardo da Vinci.
Thank you, Mary. My theme today is Happy Cat Month. Wordmaster Len volunteered this morning. Let's see what he came up with at short notice.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters. The word of the day is litter, because that's the first thing I think of when I think of cats. Litter can refer to that clay-like silt substance where cats do their business. It can be garbage, refuge, people throwing stuff around. It can refer to a group of offspring that an animal has. There are many, many uses of the words litter. Please use litter if you have an opportunity to speak today, especially during table topics. Madam Toastmaster. Pardon me?
Litter.
Very good. Madam Toastmaster.
Although by the time Mike Florio gets to it, it's recycling. Yes, okay. So litter is our word of the day. Master, Margot.
Good morning, everyone. Whatever. I don't want to hear any of them. And as you know, it is my habit. I will call you out. However, I will stop counting at 5. So let's banish those ahs, ums, and ers today, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Margot. I don't see Maggie yet. Mike Licata is Jester. Let's see what Mike has a joke about cats.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. Good morning, fellow Toastmasters and our guests this morning. What do cats call a nice dinner? A fancy feast. Why don't kittens play fetch? They'd rather catch a nap. And my final one, why was the cat sitting on the computer? He wanted to keep an eye on the mouse.
Oh.
None good? No.
Thank you, Mike. And letting us in on the difficulties of cats. Timer is Marty Johnston. Marty, tell us what you're doing.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster of the day, fellow Toastmasters, and welcome guest John. As timer, I'll be keeping the meeting running as smoothly as possible by being the timer for 3 segments. The first segment is table topics, our impromptu portion. It's 1 to 2 minutes with a 30-second buffer, and the lights will be on the screen. Green, yellow, and red. Green at 1 minute, 1:30, yellow, and at 2 minutes, red. For the speeches, I will look on the agenda. They're usually 5 to 7 minutes with a 30-second buffer, and the lights at green at 5, yellow at 6, and red at 7. And the evaluation, the third portion of the meeting, our evaluation of the speeches are 2 to 3 minutes with a 15-second buffer, and the lights green at 2, yellow at 2:30, red at 3, as I said, with a 15-second buffer. And I'll be reporting on the timing at the end of each of those segments. And I will try to keep things tidy as I go through the meeting and keep track of the timing. Back to you, Jill. Thank you.
Marty, the one correction you need to make in what you just said was table topics has the 15-second buffer. Evaluators have the 30-second buffer.
I stand corrected.
Thank you.
15-second buffer for table topics and 30 seconds for evaluation. Thank you.
Okay, John O'Hare, who is our Division A director, almost like governor. used to be governor, and still can't get rid of that name, has volunteered to be our quizmaster. So welcome, John.
Thank you very much. Delighted to be here this morning.
All right. General evaluator, Nancy Ferry.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. And I knocked over the little kitty. He's so cute. All right, let's get him standing back here and paying attention. Seeing that this is our theme for the day. I do not like kitty litter. That's why I have dogs. As general evaluator today, I will be listening to the evaluators and pointing out the great things that they observed and perhaps something that they could have done better. And I will also give a general impression of the flow of the meeting. Thank you, Jill.
Thank you, Nancy. Thank you, Nancy. We're still short a grammarian. And oh, I was wondering whether I would give it to Margot, which I would have regretted. Does Margot want grammarian in addition to Master, or do you want Kate to do it? You're both.
Oh, let's spread the wealth. I did not bring my tiara today, so yeah, let's
Oh,
spread
she
the
did
wealth.
not bring your tiara. So, so Katie is going to do grammarian. And yeah.
Okay. I will do grammarian and table topics. Happy to. All right. As grammarian, I will listen to our grammar. And like Margot said, let's avoid the usage of weak grammar. I know it's tough if we're uncaffeinated or some of us are not morning people. We make ourselves morning people on Thursdays. I'm glad we're getting here. All right. I'll roll right into table topics. And I would like to stay right on topic for the theme. Of course, you can change the question and say whatever you'd like. And as you heard, the time, remember, is 1 to 2 minutes. So you have a 15 seconds before or after. And I think I will call on our President Joe first. Joe, I'm allergic to cats. Do you want to talk about any allergies or anything like that? Talk about cats or allergies, and be sure to use our word of the day, avoiding litter. Coming up. I mean, the word litter coming up. The word is litter. Oh, look, he's got it right here so you can see it. So, talking about cats or allergies. Thank you, Joe.
Well, every spring I suffer with the pollen in the air. That's what I'm allergic to. That's the only allergy I have so far. But we always had dogs. We never really had cats. We had dogs when I was growing up. I had 2 wonderful golden retrievers that I grew up with. And they were truly wonderful. A boy and a girl dog. They were half brother and half sister, actually, interestingly enough. My parents absolutely hate cats. But I think when I was about 4 or 5, they gave in. And we brought 2 barn cats home. Briefly. Well, you don't bring barn cats into a house. Because they were allowed in the house for a little while until one particular night, Kitty decided to make my parents brand new pillowcases his own personal private John. And my parents didn't know, and my father was already half lit when he got home, and he laid in bed and didn't know about it. And then it was Super Kitty flying out the kitchen door at 30 miles an hour. The cats were not allowed in the house after that. Well, my mother, she said she accidentally ran over one in the garage. I kind of wonder about it. And then the other one disappeared under mysterious circumstances. My mother said, well, he just ran away. Yeah, I'll bet he did. But at any rate, after that, we never had cats because my parents hate cats with a passion. We've always had dogs. But my grandfather always had cats out in his barn, but they were feral. You really couldn't get near them. And once in a while, a friendly one would come around and let you pet him and let you play with him. And yes, he would always put the litter out in the barn so it was cleaner. So like I said, I like cats. I love cats actually. I love all animals. I would have a cat, but I'm just a dog person because I've always had dogs, and I think that's probably the next pet that I would probably get if I did. I'd probably have a dog. But I do like cats too. So thank you, Madam Table Topics Master.
Thank you, President Joe. Oh, I didn't even see your prop here. That's adorable. He's so cute. I'm not allergic to you, little guy. All right. I meant to share who's in the space now. Darcy, Mark, and Len here, nice and early in person. Thank you so much for that. Also, Steve, Jill, Carol, Nancy, Mike Licata, Mary, Dave Licata, myself, and Joe. On Zoom, we have Margot, Marty, Tracy, David Jones, and our guest, John O'Hare. Okay, for our next table topics speaker, I would like to call on Mark. Mark today. How about cats were revered in ancient Egypt? If you created a civilization, what animal would be revered? Mark, use the word of the day.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and our guest, John. Good morning. Interesting question. First of all, I'm so shocked I was called on for table topics. I didn't think there was any way I was going to skate today, but I will call an audible. I don't really like that question. I'll just riff on cats in general. I have a love-hate relationship with cats. Growing up, I really liked them, and then I found I was allergic to them. When I would hold them a little too much, I would start to sneeze, my nose would run, I would even get hives on my arm, like things like that. So growing up or later on when we had two daughters who invariably wanted cats, it was very convenient. Dad's allergic. I don't want him to get sick. No cats in the house. Therefore, we had dogs. Later on, recently, within, I guess, the last year, our daughters had found out about a litter of kittens, and our oldest one had gotten a kitten from that litter. Her name is Daisy. I didn't want to like Daisy, but I like Daisy. Daisy's pretty cool. And I tend not to handle her too much because I'm worried about aggravating this allergy. Maybe it's dormant, maybe it's gone. Maybe I've outgrown it, who knows? I'll just give her a little pet here and there, and she's very cool. The only problem is, even if I'm over the allergy, I could never have cats. The being on counters, being on tables, not for us, especially Mrs. Campos. She cannot deal with that. But that is my opinion on felines, Madam Table Topics Master.
Thank you for your opinion. John O'Hare, I'd love to call on you as our third. I know you're listening clearly for our quiz at the end. Are you willing to also do table topics today?
I will play along, Kate.
I would love to hear your voice again. It's good to hear your voice. Okay. Like Mark, you can choose your own path, as you well know, or go with this question. Are you, John, a dog person, a cat person, both, or neither? John O'Hare, use the word of the day.
I am a dog person, like many people in the group. But we did have a cat growing up, and the cat was a sensation in our house. The cat's name was Kiki, very original name for a cat. But the cat had a superpower. And superpower, it rang the doorbell to let itself in. My dad was a concrete construction guy. And a lot of times after work, they would do driveways. They would do sidewalks and driveways for people at night. So inevitably, they would come in late. And he and his partner, George Burlinghoff, who we always worked with, would come in. George would stand at the door, at the edge of the door because he had dirty clothes. My mother wouldn't let him in the house. So he'd be standing there with my dad talking about the day. And inevitably, the doorbell would ring. And George would look over to see who it was. nobody at the door, keep on talking, doorbell would ring again. And then after a couple times, he finally figured out it was that cat. The cat could jump up on a couple of shelves and get up to the level where the doorbell was and smack that doorbell and ring the doorbell. And actually, besides the trick of teaching it to go to the bathroom in a litter box, this was by far the best trick this cat ever got to know. He became famous with all my dad's friends having a cat that actually rang the doorbell to get into the house. Madam Topics Master, thank you.
Thank you, John. All right, awesome. We heard from Joe and Mark and John today. May I, Marty, have a timers report and then Len, a words report. Marty, how did they do on time?
Madam Topics Master, all three qualified for time.
Excellent, thank you. And Len, did they all use? I think it was me. Not like a reaction of me. How'd the word do? You can solve while you're.
Thank you, Madam Topic Master. I heard Joe and Mark say the word litter. Did John say it as well? He did. Excellent. All three qualified as far as the word of the day and time. So Mark will have the ballot up momentarily.
Thank you, Len. And of course, I didn't do any happy talk before. We just kind of jumped into some roles. But this right here could be several cats that I've owned over the years. But at the time it was named Bibber. Bibber, a friend gave Bibber to Keith while he was in the hospital because Bibber was my store cat. And the people thought that maybe Keith missed Bibber. Keith was not a cat lover, but Bibber had worn on him some. But Blackie really got his heart. So he wouldn't admit it, but he did like Blackie. Anyhow, this could also be Bonnie, who just passed away back in February. Bless her heart. She was 22 years old. Yes, she was our house cat. And she died one morning laying in bed next to us. And let's see, who else could it be? Could be Snuffy. It could be Wings, who was Snuffy's mother. Wings was a really pretty little girl. She got her name because at one time she was a feral cat out in the garage. And one time she was covered with mats really bad, like long-haired feral cats sometimes get. And she had actually managed to start pulling them off. And she was actually letting me play with her some. And I was working on it too. But she wasn't totally cooperative. And at one point, these mats were hanging off of her like angel wings. And I think it was right near Victoria's Secret fashion show or something, because we named her Wings. Unfortunately, we got her spayed, and about 6 weeks later, she got hit by a car. Yes, unfortunately, outdoor cats sometimes happen. We had never really noticed her crossing the road before that. Anyhow, that is a form of coloring called tuxedo cats. And I'm sure you can see why. We also had one that was a dark tuxedo cat. And she was my sister's cat. Her name was Sugar Paws because she was mostly all black. She had white paws. And they were all happy cats. Sometimes they were outdoor cats, sometimes they were indoor cats. But they were all happy cats. So I think we'll be going into our speaker roles, which our first evaluator is Tracy Farrell, who will be evaluating David Jones. So Tracy, would you like to introduce Dave?
Absolutely. Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. Today, Dave's coming to us from working out of the Motivational Strategies book, Intro to Vocal Variety. So we're going to be watching for body language and his vocal variety. When I emailed him last night, one of the things he said is, I need to concentrate on pace and pauses. I never would have thought about that before, but now I and everybody else in Toastmasters is going to be watching Dave for pace and pauses. Madam Toastmaster, do you have his title?
Yes, I do. David Jones with his speech called Let It Rain.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster, and good morning, fellow Toastmasters. When it rains, most of us do the same thing. We put up our umbrella and we start walking in the rain. And that got me thinking about umbrellas. They're a very simple but unique invention, and they come in different forms. Most of us, especially at this meeting, when we were younger, we didn't have umbrellas. When we were walking to school, we had our makeshift umbrella, a notebook, and we'd walk to school uphill both ways. It was always wet. All of our schoolwork got ruined. It was a really bad idea. But here's an interesting fact about umbrellas that most people don't know. Originally, it wasn't called an umbrella. It was called umbrella after the inventor's girlfriend, who was European, Brella. And one day he decided to have a press conference to introduce his invention. And when he got to the press conference, there were so many reporters, he got nervous. And he got up and they asked him, what is this great invention's name? And he said, Brella. Filler words have consequences. Changes history if you use an Actually, we don't know who the inventor of the umbrella is. There's references to it in ancient Chinese text that goes back 2400 BC. Now today, the umbrella industry sells close to 1 billion umbrellas worldwide every year. That's a lot of umbrellas. That's a lot of broken umbrellas because you wouldn't be buying one if it wasn't broken. But umbrellas keep us dry. We try to keep the rain off of us. But all the plants in my backyard and my garden, they don't want umbrellas. They want to let it rain. Because the rain helps our plants grow. They thrive in the rain. The rain washes them off, cleans off the dust and the litter and the debris and the pollen, just helps clean them off. But the rain also provides important nutrients to them, such as nitrogen and potassium and calcium. Other nutrients like that come from atmospheric gases, the dust, the oceans, even lightning and pollution helps create these perfect little raindrops that feed our plants and in turn feeds us. Now, as humans, rain has benefits for us as well. It's a calming. It helps us sleep when we hear the rain pitter patter on our roofs at night. When we're walking in the rain, there's less people. It's less crowded. They're all off looking for shelter. There was an MIT study that showed that the air is cleaner and fresher during and after the rain. And for some people, the smell of rain is also a calming effect. And even the humidity after the rain, it's good for our skin. I say let it rain, and let's all walk in the rain without our umbrellas. There's many advantages to this, but I'm just going to touch on 3 advantages of walking in the rain without an umbrella. Number 1, when we're caught in the rain, sometimes we feel vulnerable or powerless. I mean, how many times have you said to somebody, I got caught in the rain, as if you were a victim because you got caught in the rain? When we walk in the rain on a regular basis, we're teaching ourselves that we're in control. Regardless of the weather or circumstances, we're in control of our life and our destiny. It's kind of like a metaphor where if we think about rain and our life problems, this too shall pass. Walk in the rain, get wet, it's going to pass, you're going to be fine. Number two, perspectives. When we walk in the rain, things look differently. The lighting is different. Light is shining off of the raindrops, off of the wet walls of buildings and the glass. It's just, we have to squint a little bit harder because we can't see as well. We just see things differently. Sometimes mud puddles form underneath our feet, and the lighting is also different there, shining up from the rain. We can see reflections of buildings or even ourselves sometimes. It has a different perspective. When we walk in the rain, we can have a different perspective of our problems in life. So if you're struggling with something, go for a walk in the rain without your umbrella, and you'll have a different outlook on it. And number three, it makes us feel rebellious. We're breaking society's rules by walking in the rain without an umbrella, because again, we are in control. Now, back in 2021, I believe, life was good for me. I had recently joined AM Lockport. Things were good at work. I was about 25 pounds lighter back then because I was hiking and camping quite a bit. And I decided to go visit my daughter in Orlando. She was working at Disney at the time. And I remember being at the hotel looking out at the pool. And I got a phone call from my then district director. And he had asked me to be an area director. And I said yes. And I was so happy and thankful that I decided I was going to go for a hike. Well, in Orlando, it's a walk because, it's flat. And I decided I was going to walk on the sidewalk until it ended. I figured it'd be just a couple miles. And I walked, and it turned out to be 4 or 5 miles. And on my way back, it started raining. And I didn't have an umbrella. I had nowhere to go, had a few miles to walk to get back to the hotel. So I just decided to walk in the rain. And I'm not sure why, but I started getting emotional. I was tearing up and holding back the tears. And I think it was a cleansing moment. I wasn't sure, but it was just very emotional. And I was holding in my tears because, there's cars right here. I didn't want them to see me walking and crying. But then I thought, when it's raining and I'm driving, I'm focused. I turn off the radio. Don't talk to me, just focused. So nobody was watching me. Nobody cared that I was walking in the rain and crying. But it was a wonderful experience for me just to, I don't know why, everything was good, but obviously there was some deep-seated issues inside of me that just had to be washed away by the rain. So my challenge to you, my call to action is for you to walk in the rain without your umbrella. Just be in control of what you're doing. And even though our parents told us not to, I challenge you to find a puddle and jump in it and splash around. Have fun. Because you're in control. You decide your journey in life. And even if that journey includes walking in the rain without an umbrella. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, David. I was thinking as you were talking about crying in the rain, well, nobody can tell you're crying. You're all wet. Yeah. Okay.
We can't hear you.
Yep. I would love to be walking in the rain right now. We are in drought conditions, especially in Wilson, because we're in this little pocket of dry air. And my plants are suffering, and I water incessantly. But that's another story. We're talking about cats today. And our next speaker is Carol Ann, and she is being evaluated by Dave Licata. So Dave. Boom.
Not to put any undue pressure on our next speaker. She had no plans to speak at all this week, but then she found out what the theme was, and she goes, I'll speak. I really like cats. I'll speak. No pressure. She is working from Pathways. It's the presentation mastery. Connect with storytelling. It's 5 to 7 minutes long. It's double the feline fun. Carol Ann Halstead, double the feline fun.
Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and guest. In February of 2022, our 6-year-old black and white or tuxedo cat ran up the stairs, and we don't know if she bumped her head or what happened, but she collapsed and was obviously gone. When we had 2 other tuxedo cats, Tiffany and Comet. And my daughter's kind of the real person that takes care of the cats. And she researched, because she definitely wanted another cat, and decided that Ragdoll Maine Coon combination cats were very friendly and almost had dog-like qualities of being close to their owner. She looked online, found a breeder in Arcade, New York, and on March 27th of that year, a litter arrived with 4 males and 2 females. She had wanted a female and had already named it Kahlua. And the breeder asked her if there'd be any way she would take a second cat, because she wanted her to have both female cats, and it would be half price. So we decided to take the 2 of them and drove down and got them in June of that year. The cat, when we picked them up, Bailey was what she named the second cat, was very small, sneezing, and the lady kind of said, oh yeah, she sneezes, but you know, and like she kind of put it in the carrier and like, bye. So when we took them to the vet, he was concerned about Bailey being small and a little dehydrated, actually gave her some fluids and medications, said she had a virus. And I remember showing Jill a picture of them just shortly after we got them, and she said it looked like Kahlua was the mother to Bailey, the size difference. But Bailey thrived, and she's the bigger one now. The only thing with getting them from a breeder, of course, we were in charge of getting them spayed. And even though they wore little baby t-shirts over their incision, had the dreaded cone on, somehow Bailey's incision opened up and she needed a little second surgery. These cats are white in their background color, and they have gray and tan accents. In fact, Kahlua has quite a bit of gray on one side of her face. If it extended a little further down from her eye, she would look like the Phantom. Both of their tails are gray and tan. Bailey has big blue eyes, which is a trait of the ragdoll. And she also has 1 gray ear and 1 tan ear. And she has what I call antenna. And actually they're lynx tips. I think you maybe noticed if you've seen a Maine Coon. Hers aren't very long, but they're still her antenna. They do sleep in the basement. They get up every day at 8:45 when my daughter lets them out. And they enjoy drinking water out of the sink in the downstairs bathroom. And that was a problem when their first Christmas, because of the fact that we had a real Christmas tree, water, under the tree. And of course, we had some freshener or whatever you call it in there, which of course you didn't want the cats to drink. So my daughter found some cardboard, some big cardboard, and blocked off the family room. And now it's not a problem. We've gone to artificial trees as of last Christmas. But we've kept the cardboard up because my husband says it's very good to have one room without cat hair in it. They are fairly long hair. They do have a groomer, make visits every about 3 months. And we have a spare room and they kind of own it. There's a bed, that's where the computer is. Kahlua sleeps on the bed and Bailey usually sleeps on the cat tower looking out the window. They do have, we're glad we have two. I think it's company for each other. They have sisterly spats at times, but they get over it. And a lot of times Bailey starts it, but then you look at her and she peers back with the big blue eyes thinking, you really think I would start something? So we are very pleased with our double the feline fun, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Carol Ann. Lovely stories about kitty cats and happy cats, definitely. Our last speaker is Stephen Smith, and he's being evaluated by Darcy. Now I know what he's talking about here. So Darcy's going to have some fun with this one. So Darcy.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. I hope I have some fun with this one. I have the honor of evaluating Steve Smith this morning, and he is not speaking from one of the pathways. The time is 5 to 7 minutes. Stephen Smith, the count, how he came into being, Stephen Smith.
Good morning. Now, some of you have met the count, some of you haven't. But I thought I'd do something I've never done before. I'm going to show you how I put the count together and give you a little history about them. I've been doing the count near as I can figure out for over 40 years. And in that time, I've learned a few tricks to speed it up, but it's still a lengthy makeup. I was going to actually do some to show you, but then I realized that just takes too long. I can't do that. So I'm going to describe it to you. Meet the count. This is not a mask. This is what we call an appliance, because I actually glue this to my face. And I built this on my face, and I'll show you how. First, you take a little spirit gum, you paint an area of your face, you take a little cotton, you slap it on there. Now you got to wait about 10 to 15 minutes for this to dry. But meanwhile, I'm doing other things. And after 15 minutes, you get to pull this off, and most of it will come off in a chunk, but you're left with all the stuff there, and you kind of pluck around it, you get this nice, pretty little fur layer on left in your skin. Now you take your liquid latex, and I use a light flesh latex because it gives the color that I want, a pale flesh. Now you take this area and you paint it. It doesn't matter how sloppy you get, and you paint that all with the latex. Now you let that dry. Then you move on to another section of your face. All this, I mean, if I do my whole face, it takes like 3 hours, but that's why I've peeled that off and use it as a appliance now. But first thing you have to do, Protect yourself. Elmer's glue all. Put some of this on and do my eyebrows with it. Why? Elmer's glue all is water soluble. Latex isn't. So this protects my eyebrows. So I'll start. I'll do my neck. And you got to stay back like this because latex sticks to itself. And after that dries, I get out a little powder. I get out a little powder and I dust that all down. Now I can straighten my neck back out and it won't stick to itself. So I do that and do my ears. Now the next trick is the eye makeup. So I have a couple of shades that I use that to make these eyebrow or make my eyes up. Do that before I put the face on. And it works well. Next, we get to the face itself. Now at this point, I've got all this other stuff on. My eyes are made up. So now I take and put a little liquid latex around here on the inside and slap this on. Now you got to hold that for about 10 minutes or so while it dries. But by doing it, you'll also notice I grow my hair long this time of year so that when I pull this all together in the back, the fake hair meshes with my real hair and I just put a hairband on it. Am I done? No, because now I have to do the blending in around here. Again, take a little paddle and my trusty bottle of hair white. Dab that on there. Now I brush this into my skin because it goes beneath the hair as well as lighten the hair up. It lightens my skin up to give it a more pale, unearthly look. Do all that, go around the edges, and even put some in my own hair so it's not as, it looks the same color as the fake hair. Some people ask me, is that your real hair? I said, of course it is. I paid for this. So after doing all that work, the count is finally ready to go out. Now, I chose the name of this, a very obscure reference that I'm sure even Dave Licata doesn't know. It refers to a film made in 1920, a German expressionistic silent film called The Golem, and how he came into the world. And I saw that and that fits what I'm doing. So I stole the name and I based this all on it. Well, then the fun comes, you have to take all of this off. And one of the first things I learned in doing makeup, make sure you have the proper solvents. So they make this wonderful stuff, spirit gum remover. Now, as I said, latex has no known solvent, but now obviously with all this, sometimes I get a little latex in my hair. Not a big problem. Sometimes I have to cut it out. Usually I take a little bit of this, which is kind of oily, work it into the hair, then it allows me to pull that latex out of the hair without hurting too much. Now, as I said, I've been doing it for 40 years. This is the original nose I made for the count years ago, and kind of got a little hard, so I had to replace it. Not a big problem. I took some plaster, made a mold, so I could rebuild the nose out of more latex and cotton layers, build up till I filled this thing up and rebuilt the nose. Now, if you want a chance to meet the count live and in person, we invite you down to our place on both Beggars Night the 30th and the 31st Halloween itself to view our massive haunted yard that we do and meet the count. Oh, and by the way, wooden stakes and crucifixes are strictly prohibited. Mirrors are also highly frowned upon. So I invite you to come out and check out all this Halloween weirdness at our place. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Steve. You forgot to mention that our Halloween party will be the Saturday before, on the 25th. Yes, he did. And that will be starting around 8 o'clock, although some people show up earlier, especially if you want to see the decorations during the daylight. Could I have a timers report, please? Marty?
Yes, Madam Toastmaster of the day, Jill. David Jones spoke for 7 minutes and 1 second, qualified. Second speaker, Carol Ann, spoke for 6 minutes and 3 seconds, qualified. Third speaker, Steve Smith, spoke for 6 minutes and 30 seconds. All 3 speakers qualified. Thank you, Madam Toastmaster.
Okay, at this point, the poll will be going up online for those of you on Zoom. And we will be collecting our ballots. And I see Katie's running around with her little love notes. Cats come in numerous colors, as we all know. The tuxedo cat and its variations are very common. I've also had several black cats in my life. They have all been named Blackie. Yeah, original. But they've all had different personalities, although the first 2 I really don't remember that well because they were when I was little thing. Well, actually, the second one. The first one was hit by a car when I was probably 6 or 7. So that's, anyhow. The second one we rescued from our barn cats, who had litters of cats regularly, as barn cats did in those days. And Dad claimed he didn't like cats in the house. Yes, Steve is laughing because of what Dad does to his cat in the house now. And we would bring Blackie, who already had his name at that point, over into the house during the day while Dad was off working in the jobs. And we would take him back over into the barn at night. And Blackie, at some point, got forgotten to be taken over, and Dad discovered, and he became the house cat, although he went outside quite a bit too. Third Blackie was a stray big tomcat that walked into the store and was living there for a little while before he got hit by a car, and he was a big cat. He actually got buried down on Mom and Dad's property, even though he got hit in the village of Wilson. And he was, like I said, he was a big cat. Blackie number 4 walked into the store in 2010, and he found Bibber's food dish, and he stayed. And eventually we did have him neutered, and he became quite the cat. Bibber taught him the ways of being a store cat. And he was lovable. And Keith fell in love with him. And then Blackie eventually moved down to Steve's house. He lived in the apartment building for a few years before that, and all the neighbors knew him, and they left the door open for him to go in and out. I'd let him out in the hall in the morning, and he'd go traipsing around and come back at night. One time he came back covered with mud. He must have gotten into it with somebody out in the mud puddle. And he got a bath that night. He wasn't really happy about it, but you know, life goes on. But Blackie was almost more like a dog in some ways. He would actually follow Steve and I. We went for walks out off of our property even. And because we didn't want him crossing the road by himself, we made sure we were with him when he got to that point. So he was happy. And I will talk about yellow cats after we do our evaluators. Our first evaluator is Tracy Farrell, evaluating David Jones. So Tracy, are you ready?
I am. Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. Today, we heard a speech from David. His speech was Motivational Strategies, Introduction to Vocal Variety and Body Language. And oh my God, did he check off every single one of his goals today. He started off with a joke that got us all interested in his speech and paying attention to him. He was talking about umbrellas, and I was really wondering how this is going to go into a motivational speech, but he hit his mark when he went in and talked about walking in the rain. He had fantastic gestures throughout the speech, so he also hit that goal. And to top it all off, he used the word of the day. I also want to point out that he said, let's, pay attention to pace and pauses. And when he told me that before, I was like, I've never noticed a problem with that. And I did not today either. You really did a fantastic job with your pace and your pauses going forth. Some of the improvements, and Dave, I know I'm being super, super picky because I have to find something in this speech, but it was a fantastic speech to say the least. I did notice at one point in the speech, you kind of looked off to your right and you were looking probably at your notes, and that might have caught you off guard because there was a pause here and there. It was not something that disturbed the speech or anything, but I did notice that. And one of your gestures, you were looking down as if looking at a reflection. In Zoom, I'm not too sure looking down on the floor works, and I'm not too sure if it would work behind a podium if you were there, just because it looked like you didn't know what was going on. Maybe if you stepped back and said, oh my gosh, something bigger, but stepping back to make that gesture a little bit more believable. It just came across as if you didn't know. Once again, I am being so, so picky on this. You use maybe vocal variety, but it didn't lend itself so much to the speech. I have to say, going back to all the good things, you told a story in your speech, and I just love that story. And it had the motivation of why we want to walk in the rain. And then you ended it with a call to action that we should all be doing this. So you did a fantastic job. Thank you so much for the speech. David Jones, or Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Tracy. Our third evaluator is on his way up here. Second evaluator. Oh, thank you for the correction there. Dave Okada will be evaluating Carol Ann. So Dave.
We had a cat when I was very young. Annette and I had a cat when our relationship was very young. But we don't have a lot of experience with cats. So this was nice that I got the Cat Chronicles from Carol Ann. So that worked out. And she brought us in with a heartfelt tragedy. And we've all been through that with pets. So that wasn't a bad way to round up the audience and get them on board with the speech. And I want to salute her for that. She used the phrase, I want to give her credit, and I'm sorry, grammarian, but I like sisterly spats. I like that phrase. And I saw Katie Orr's face light up when she said sisterly spats. So it struck a bone with her. Where the speech can be improved, and if we want to think about this speech this morning as the first time you're going to give this, the next time you have to hit those dramatic notes a little harder and go a little deeper, because it was a great reporting of your history with cats, but there wasn't a lot of hooks. And sadly, a tragedy would have been even more tragedy would have been a greater device to bring people in to be a bit more entertaining. Oh, let's see. What does this note say? Guard the lectern. I tried to wave you back, and then Katie said, no, no, no. Let her come on out, and then you can talk about it later. And I'd like to thank Katie for that. So we need a little bit more drama. We need to watch our lectern etiquette. But the big plus for Carol this morning is that she used some theater, more than she has ever done before, in my opinion. And she was less reliant on notes, which was huge, because that eased the fact that she could be more theatrical and better eye contact and better interplay with the audience. So she had a nice conversational tone. I really felt like she was in the backyard talking about cats with her neighbor, like perhaps her neighbor just got a cat and Carol Ann was bringing her up to speed. So that was a friendly cat conversation. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Dave. I forgot to mention that Blackie 5, we were attempting to tame up Blackie 5. And the sad part about feral cats is often you don't know what happened to them. They just disappear. And this Blackie would have been Blackie 5. I found laying next to one of our gardens one day. And he was still warm. So I don't know what happened to him. He just fell over dead by the looks of it. So our last evaluator is Darcy, who will be evaluating Steve. So let's see what kind of challenges the count gave her.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. Fellow Toastmasters and our guest, John. The club mission for Toastmasters is to provide a supportive and positive learning experience in which members are empowered to develop communication and leadership skills, resulting in greater self-confidence and personal growth. And when I went to the officers training this past summer, we were instructed as Sergeant at Arms to always give that club mission somehow, some way. And I'm thinking maybe I could make a poster of that. We can always put it right up here and then we could be reminded of that. So in that spirit, I'm going to evaluate Stephen Smith. I had the honor of evaluating Stephen Smith, and I want to say all three speakers did an excellent job. And I want to just repeat what Tracy said, that it's really sometimes hard to find things to, especially for us novices, it's hard to bring things up that you could actually improve on because there were so many good things. I was enthralled by listening to the process, this 3-hour process about something I have no clue about, which is always nice to learn something new. I love that. You're talking about the latex, and then you had to do this, and then it takes 3 hours, and you had to, the glue and the dust powder and all the steps. Quite a procedure. You must enjoy that. I heard loud, clear, easy to follow, logical steps, the inflection in your voice. I saw excellent gestures, not to mention all the props where you were moving and showing us. I noticed cool, calm, collective, comfortable speaking. And probably because this is a how-to kind of a speech, something you've been doing for 40 years, so it's probably second nature to you. Very comfortable for you to come up and show us something that you know intimately well how to do. I appreciate you speaking loud and clearly. Sometimes I don't hear very well and I got this ringing in my ear. So I appreciate when a speaker speaks loudly, clearly. Very interesting. Again, learning about something I have no clue about. The only suggestions I could come up with A few seconds more of pauses, which I need to work on. A little more animation. I don't know, I'm grasping for straws here. You did a great job. And I would actually like to see more of the how-to kinds of speeches because people are they're just so calm. They're so into it. They're so knowledgeable. And I appreciate learning about new things and I appreciate learning about what excites the people in this club. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Darcy. I have to say, when Steve told me that he was going to condense a 3-hour process into a 5 to 7 minute speech, along with other narrative, I was a little bit worried. Yellow cats. Timers report on the evaluators, please.
Yes, Jill. Our first evaluator, Tracy, qualified at 2:42. Second evaluator, Dave Licata, qualified at 3:02. Our third evaluator, Darcy, qualified at 2:32. Thank you, Jill. Back to you.
Thank you, Marty. It was nice to hear the evaluators all stretch their evaluation out. They weren't reaching for 1 minute and 30 and trying to figure out what to say. Yellow cats usually have the tabby coloration, which is a striping on them. And yellow cats can be anything from a dark cream, almost to a deep butterscotch. I think the first yellow cat that I had was called Butterscotch. My husband at the time, we were living in an apartment after we got married, and we had some mice. And I knew the best way to get rid of mice was to have a cat. And even though the mice had actually been trapped by the time the cat showed up, the cat actually continually went to that corner cupboard where the mice had been. And strangely enough, when we moved into the house, she still went towards that corner cupboard looking for a mouse. But anyhow, Dan brought the kitten home. One of his fellow truck drivers had had a litter, barn kittens. And he showed up one day, coming home from work. And I don't know where we met up, but I wasn't used to seeing him there. And he held up this kitten and said, "What do you think of Butterscotch?" or something to that effect. And I was in so much shock that he had brought a cat home, because he was another person that claimed he didn't like cats. That apparently I had a look on his face and he said, "Well, what, don't you like Butterscotch?" And Butterscotch turned into a pretty good cat. Although she ended up hating Dan. Good kitty. He did not make her happy when he was angry. All right. I think we will go to some of our reports now. Margot, do you have an Master report for us?
I certainly do. Good morning, everyone, again. Counting the ahs and ums was my job for today, and past member Edna wants the so's to all go away. The ahs and the ums are the litter of when we talk, so let's make sure they all take a walk. Usually I list those who didn't say a word, so no ahs and ums or so's. No one today, setting the examples to keep us on our toes. But it was glorious how these people had no fillers when they spoke. A tip of the hat to John, Mark, Marty, Mike, Jill, and Kate. Also Dave Licata and Len. That was so great. These people did very well. A few, however, were not so swell. The following people did use filler words, and blaming my being on Zoom is for the birds. Mary, Nancy, Darcy, and Tracy snuck in one as they spoke. Dave Jones used one, but only as a joke. Steve added a new filler word for us to use. Now was the word I wish we would lose. More than 5 from Carol Ann gave your speech a haze, but she'll get rid of those so we can sing her praise. So that's my report on this glorious day. Let's remember this as we go on our way. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Margot. It has been quite a while since we've had one of your off-the-cuff poems, and I don't know how you come up with them so fast. It is really quite amazing. All right, Kate is standing here to give us our grammarian report. Let's have it, Katie.
I cannot follow that poem. Great work on grammar today, folks. I didn't hear any glaring misuse. Thank you, Margot, for the laughs. Much appreciated.
Thank you, Katie. Now, our guest, John O'Hare, if you could do your quizmaster duty at this point.
I would. And do I just ask the question for the club to answer?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll have to repeat what's out there is going on.
Okay. Well, the first question I had was the Joe talked about 2 dogs growing up. I just wonder if anybody besides Joe remembers the breed of dog that they had when he was growing up.
Golden retrievers, they said.
Golden retrievers, that's right. And I'm sure none of them was the runt of the litter. What about Mark's daughter's cat's name? Mark talked about his daughter's cat.
Does anybody know? The cat's name of Mark's daughter
Was
Daisy.
Daisy.
Mark prompted us, but that
Right.
you got us.
Mark would remember. I think everyone will remember this. The name of the umbrella inventor's girlfriend.
Umbrella is definitely
something I had never heard of before. And the other thing, Carol Ann talked about 2 of her cats, Kahlua and Bailey. Which one was the sneezing cat?
Dave Licata says Bailey, which I knew to myself.
It was Bailey. And then finally, when Steve is doing his makeup with all that garb, what is the common household material that he uses to protect his eyebrows when putting on the latex?
Elmer's glue. Everybody remembers
Elmer's glue.
one.
Thank you for playing. This is a fun role to be the quizmaster.
Thank you, John. That is a job that we developed years ago. Apparently somebody had seen it at some other Toastmaster club. Charlie brought it to us, Charlie Deacon. Les Sigarnik, who I never met. He was a character, I'm being told. Okay. And we do have a lot of fun with that quizmaster role. Although it's more fun if you're doing it here in person because you get the feedback right away and that sort of thing. All right. Len is here ready to give a wordmaster report.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. I may have missed a few, but these are ones I think I heard. In addition to all 3 table topics contestants, Margot, Jill, David, Jones, and Carol Ann used the word. If you didn't, use the word litter today, if you feel like it. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you. And Nancy is up here to do her general evaluator duties. Let's see what I did and didn't do wrong.
Oh, Jill, give yourself a break. Fabulous. What a great topic. I wasn't sure I could get into it because I'm a dog person. But there was no litter here today. It was so good. You You had a great flow. You started as people trickled in, and the slow start, you didn't get yourself all ruffled. I would have been like, nobody's here. What are we going to do? At least that's what I would have been thinking. I don't know if I would have said all those things. You ran a smooth program. You had a prop. You shared your experience and attachment to kittens and cats. You guarded the lectern most of the time. Once you snuck over there, I don't know if it was to check your notes or get a drink or whatever, but just always a good reminder was when somebody was speaking. Tracy, kudos for connecting with Tom. I do that all the time. I want him to be Tom Jones. I'm sorry, David. It's written right here, but I just did it. So you connected with David last night, and you thanked the Toastmaster. You complimented him on his gestures. You suggested a few gestures that may have been distractive. You used the sandwich approach. You ended with a positive. Dave Licata, you shared Carol's Pathway project with us. Double feline fun was her topic. And I loved how you used the phrase, the cat chronicles, as giving her feedback. Great suggestions. I wish I could read my writing once in a while. The great suggestion was to give a hook in this speech. You suggested using and. I suggest using and instead of but when you are sharing something positive. When you use the but, it takes away from the positive. Does that make sense? Darcy, evaluating Steve Smith on the count. What great evaluation. Reminder of the importance of the club mission. You started off with that. It was an interesting way to begin your evaluation, to share that with us. You listed a plethora of possibilities, including vocal variety and a few places for improvement. I think everyone did a great job, and we are making time, and I'm impressed that you were so cool as people just dribbled in today. Thank you, Jill.
Dribble is a good word for it today. I thought about the David Jones and Tom Jones thing. I'm trying to visualize David Jones with the Tom Jones showmanship. And I can't see it. So oh, I'm reminded Tom Jones sang the song What's New Pussycat, but I don't think he was talking about a cat itself. No. Okay, I think Katie has an announcement, so we'll do that before we announce our winners.
Thank you so much. I've got 6 announcements, David. Paul, you want to be after me? Awesome. I'm going to try to do this in chronological order so it's a good flow. First announcement, thank you to everyone who visited the Celtic Festival over the weekend, visited or volunteered. Save the date for next year. It is our 25th anniversary, and it's always the second weekend after Labor Day, so it's later next year, September 19th and 20th. Save the dates. So I saw Caitlin Kenny. She was helping, her best friend was a vendor at the festival. She was there all weekend. And for anyone who missed it last week, we drew for dues, and Jackie's name was drawn. And so I told Caitlin about her mom visiting us at the meeting last Thursday, and we shared a good long hug. And I offered her the 6-month dues that we talked about, and that it's on the table for her for when she is available around work. She's very grateful, and she will visit us soon. Oh, did David close the deal yesterday? It sounds like he saw her. So we'll be seeing Caitlin soon. Okay, my second announcement is for next week. Next week's agenda is the contest. Thank you to everyone who has already signed up with me. We have as contestants Marshall and Maggie. Our contest MC will be Dave Licata. I will be your chief judge. Our ballot counters, I've got Mary Cavanero and Mike. Can you also? Great. I was wondering if I could wrap up the other two right now for timers as Mark and David Jones. What do you think? Can't be here this week, that time. David Jones not able to attend. Okay, we'll sort out timers. It will be neither Mark nor David. We will need timers. Timers can be in person or Zoom. And I have some judges lined up. Those should remain anonymous, and those will be in the room probably possibly on Zoom. We'll see how that sorts out. We'll do the contest briefing via email. The gavel will be down at 7 a.m., but it will not be a long contest. So I believe that Marty and I will be talking about our club success plan right after the contest, as well as our fall open house, which is my third item on here. Our fall open house is, whoops, nope, that's not till the last item because we're going chronological order. So 2 weeks from today is the fall open house, but there are several things before then. So my number 3 item is September 30th. September 30th is a busy day. Dues are due. Thank you, Mike Licata, for working on this, and thank you everyone who has already paid your dues. Also September 30th, our next officer meeting, potluck, 6 p.m. at Maggie's. Also September 30th, the club success plan is due to the district. Marty and I will try to get that in sooner or wrap it up at the meeting. The fourth item is our fourth quarter schedule. That means October, November, December. Thank you to Len for getting the ball rolling and emailing us all with that. If you haven't seen it, look back in your email. He sent it last week with the October, November, December dates. Please respond to that email or expect phone calls from me, Mary, and Eric working on that. The very next day after September 30th is Wednesday, October 1st. That is our DECA demo meeting. Thank you to Nancy and Maggie who already signed up for that. We will also have some of the seniors who did it as juniors last year to be part of it. And Jackie has come in the past. Is anyone else interested in carrying the torch? We'd love to have more participation. It is Wednesday, October 1st. Arrival 8:50 a.m. in the main office. We'd be done by 9:50 a.m. The final thing is 2 weeks from today, our fall open house. Our Toastmaster will be Mary Cavanero, and we have some other details to work on. If you'd like to be speaker for the open house or any other role in specific, please let me know. Thank you for listening to so many announcements. Back to you, Jill.
Thank you, Katie. I think Dave has an announcement. Dave talked to Caitlin on the phone yesterday, but we're making him drag himself up here one more time to tell us about his conversation with Caitlin. Yeah.
Who had the story about the Kahlua and
Carolyn.
Okay. You have a full glass of hot cocoa. You add 1 ounce of rum and a half ounce of Kahlua. That drink is called a fuzzy, and you will be. So that's what I used to take to the ball games on the cold football nights. This is Caitlin's ticket, her Jackie's ticket, and we're all set. So work on your tall tales. I'm glad to see that come back because I think storytelling is important to this here club, which we're trying to run. All set?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you, Dave. I guess I will do our winners for the day. Table topics is John O'Hare. Bravo, John. Evaluator, Tracy Farrell. And for, yeah, we're saving ribbons here because they're all on Zoom today. David Jones is speaker of the day. Yo. Does anybody want to draw or should I just do it? I kind of figured that's what would happen. Breakfast at Olive Leaf after here. 014. Nancy. Yay, Nancy. Okay. I think that's it for the meeting today.